The Melancholy Masquerade. A haunting dance with the shadow of death. In the twilight hours of a sombre autumn evening, the esteemed members of the Deveraux family gathered for their annual masquerade ball. The great mansion, perched atop a precipice overlooking the sea, was adorned with flickering candles casting ghostly shadows on the walls. The night was veiled in a sinister mist, as if the very essence of death hovered at the edge of the gathering. Among the myriad of masked figures, one stood out from the rest. The man, clad in a sombre black cloak, wore a mask bearing the visage of a grinning skull. His eyes, empty sockets, seemed to pierce the very souls of those who dared to meet his gaze. The guests whispered in hushed tones as he moved through the ballroom, his presence casting a pall over the revelry. Lord Deveraux, the patriarch of the family, was disquieted by the stranger's presence. Consumed by curiosity, he approached the man, hoping to discern his identity. But when questioned, the stranger offered no answer, his voice a mere whisper, like the rustling of leaves carried on a cold autumn wind. The masquerade continued, and as the night wore on, the guests became increasingly unnerved by the mysterious figure. His skeletal visage, once a mere curiosity, now seemed to haunt their every step, his presence like a shroud over the festivities. As midnight approached, the tolling of the great clock in the hall heralded a disturbing event. One of the guests, a distant cousin of the Deveraux family, collapsed, her lifeless body crumpling to the floor. The revelers, struck by horror, found the grinning stranger standing over the body, his empty eyes seeming to mock their fear. Lord Deveraux, his heart heavy with dread, ordered the stranger to remove his mask and reveal his true face. But the man merely laughed, his voice a hollow, echoing sound that chilled the hearts of all who heard it. He refused to remove the mask, and with a theatrical flourish, disappeared into the shadows of the mansion. The ball was abruptly halted, and the guests, fearing for their lives, began to depart. One by one, they fled the mansion, leaving the Deveraux family to face the consequences of their ill-fated gathering. As the mansion emptied, the family gathered in the great hall, their once vibrant spirits now dulled by the encroaching darkness. And as the clock struck 1, the stranger reappeared, his skeletal grin seeming to grow wider with each passing moment. In a voice that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the grave, he revealed his true nature. He was a harbinger of death, summoned by the Deveraux family's own sins. Each member of the family, tainted by a legacy of darkness and betrayal, had sealed their own fate. As the night wore on, the stranger led the family in a grotesque dance, a macabre waltz that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The mansion, once a bastion of wealth and power, now echoed with the haunting sounds of the dance, the shadows on the walls contorting into horrifying shapes. As dawn approached, the dance reached its frenzied climax. The family, exhausted and broken, could no longer resist the stranger's relentless pull. One by one, they succumbed to his sinister embrace, their lifeless bodies falling to the floor, their souls forever bound to the darkness. As the sun rose, the stranger vanished, leaving the Deveraux mansion a silent, empty shell. The once great family had been utterly consumed by their own darkness, their legacy now a grim reminder of the price of their sins. The mansion, standing atop the precipice like a tombstone, bore witness to the terrible dance with the shadow of death that had taken place within its walls. In the years that followed, the village below the mansion whispered tales of the melancholy masquerade and the sinister stranger who had visited death upon the Deveraux family. The mansion, now abandoned and consumed by the ravages of time, loomed over the village as an ever-present reminder of the dance with the shadow of death. On moonlit nights, when the wind howled through the trees and the mist clung to the ground like a shroud, the villagers would huddle in their homes, fearing to venture out into the darkness. For they believed that the grinning stranger, the harbinger of death, still haunted the Deveraux mansion, waiting to claim the souls of any who dared to tread upon its cursed grounds. And so, the Deveraux mansion stood, a silent monument to the horrors that had transpired within its walls, a chilling testament to the inescapable grasp of the shadow of death, and the terrible price paid by those who dared to dance with it.